If you've ever wondered why one specific spider seems to keep coming back to the same corner of your home year after year, you're not imagining it. And the reason is more meaningful than you would expect. The truth is that the spider you have been seeing is not always the same individual, but the place is. The place has been chosen. And inside the walls of a typical home, in a small pocket of space most people will never see, a quiet line of spiders has often been living for far longer than most of us realize. There is, almost certainly, a spider in your wall right now, and the small history of how it got there and how its family has stayed there is one of the most overlooked stories in any human home. Let's imagine, for a moment, a single spot in your house, a corner where the wallpaper meets the ceiling, a small gap behind the kitchen baseboard, the space just inside the frame of an old window. Pick one. Now imagine that this place has been a spider's home, in some form, for 7 years. This is more common than people realize. And if a spider has chosen a corner of your home, and one almost certainly has, pay attention to that corner. It has, in all likelihood, been chosen by more than one generation. Year 1. The first spider arrives. She is small, recently emerged from the egg sac, and she has been carried into your home in a way most people never witness. She has used a behavior called ballooning, releasing a single thread of silk into the air and letting it catch a current. The current may have lifted her from a tree in a nearby garden, from the underside of a fence, from a windowsill 3 houses down. She has traveled, in a few minutes, further than she will ever travel again. She enters through a gap, a vent, a small space around a window frame, a crack at the base of a door that no one has ever noticed. And inside, she finds something that, for a young spider, is almost a kind of paradise. A stable temperature, a reliable absence of weather, small insects that already live in the walls, a corner that no one ever cleans. Within a few days, she has built her first web. Within a few weeks, she has begun to recognize the room she is in. By the end of year 1, she has lived in that corner for almost her entire life so far. Years 2 and 3. The routine establishes. The spider is now an adult. She has refined her position. She knows which times of day produce the most insect activity. She knows which corners of her web catch the most prey. She has, in the careful way of her species, made the corner her own. She produces an egg sac, attaches it to a thread in a quiet place behind a piece of furniture or inside the wall, and waits. When the egg sac hatches, dozens of tiny spiders emerge. Most of them will leave. Most of them will balloon away on their own threads of silk, traveling to new homes, new gardens, new corners they have not yet seen. But 1 or 2 will stay. 1 or 2 will find a spot in the same room, perhaps in a different corner, perhaps along the same baseboard, and begin their own lives in the home their mother chose. Years 4 and 5. The first generations. By now, the original spider has reached the end of her natural life. Most common household spiders live for 1 to 2 years, though some, including certain cellar spiders, can live considerably longer. When she dies, she leaves behind a corner that has already been claimed by one of her descendants. This is how a small spider lineage establishes itself in a home. Not through one long-lived individual, but through a quiet chain of generations, each one inheriting the same corner, the same web placements, the same understanding of where the safe paths are and where the food appears. Researchers who have studied long-term spider populations in homes have noticed something remarkable. The corners chosen by an early generation are often still in use many years later. The web placements shift slightly. The exact spider changes, but the location, the precise spot where a thread is anchored, where a small body waits, remains almost the same. It is as though the corner itself, through the slow accumulation of generations, becomes a kind of small inherited home. Year 6. The corner has its character. By the 6th year, the corner has developed what biologists sometimes informally call a microclimate of presence. Tiny scraps of silk accumulate in the deepest part of the gap. The chemistry of the area has shifted in subtle ways. The corner now smells, to other spiders, like a place that has been successfully lived in. Young spiders that arrive in the home through new ballooning events are more likely to settle there, drawn by the same cues that drew their predecessors. This is one of the small wonders of spider ecology. A successful site advertises itself, quietly, to any spider that passes by. The traces left by previous generations are not waste, they are signals. They say, in a language only spiders can read, that this corner has supported life, that the temperature is right, that the food has been reliable. A young spider arriving at such a corner is not choosing randomly. It is following the recommendations of every spider that came before it. The house has, in a sense, become spider-suitable in that specific spot. Year 7. The continuity is complete. If you stood in front of that corner today, you might see only a single small shape. Or you might see nothing at all, just the suggestion of a thread, a faint pattern of dust slightly differently distributed than elsewhere. You would not see 7 years of life. You would not see the small history of arrivals and departures, of egg sacs and emergences, of slow inheritance. But it is there. This is what the 7th year of a wall spider really looks like. Not one individual in most cases, but a small, unbroken thread of life, carried forward by spiders who have never met each other, each one finding the same corner, choosing the same anchor points, repeating the same quiet work. What this means, for your home, is something quietly remarkable. Your house is not just yours. It is, in its smallest corners, a long-term residence for lives much shorter than ours, lives that have inherited it from each other across years you never thought to count. The spider you may see tonight, in some corner of some room, has, in a sense, been there for far longer than any individual spider could live. The corner has remembered, even when no one was watching. Some homes carry more lives than we realize. Some quiet corners have been chosen, again and again, for longer than we have lived in them ourselves.